Hi folks, Scott Haskin here, back with another video. I thought I would play around with another one of Eduardo's libraries that I haven't covered yet. Today I'm going to be getting into Dark Era, which I'm really excited about. I love this library. I haven't been writing a lot because I've been so busy with the podcast, but I am all caught up on Uriah Heep, the Magician's podcast, 32 seasons, everything the band ever recorded in the studio that I am aware of, tracked down every single song. Some were not the best quality for the one album that wasn't released, but you know what, that's how it goes sometimes. But really excited to have covered all of those, somewhere around 350 episodes. And yeah, that was a real honor, and especially to be endorsed by the band was absolutely amazing. Mick and the guys were just fantastic and helpful. This one also, I'm a little bit ahead on the Haskincast podcast, so this is kind of a good time for me to sit down and do a writing session with another one of Eduardo's libraries. You can get this library and all his other libraries, as well as some others, on the Best Service website. They have an incredible list of products there. Go there. They have the American site. They also have one in German. And you can sign up for their mailing list. They'll email you when they're having sales, when new libraries come out, what's going on special, all that kind of stuff. Their staff is absolutely phenomenal, really wonderful and friendly people. Shout out to Wolfgang over there, and also shout out to Eduardo for these just top of the line libraries. I mean, I work with a lot of different things because I do a lot of different kinds of projects, whether I'm doing something new age and ambient, or whether I'm doing something horror or world music or orchestral. I do all kinds of stuff. So I work with a really large variety of libraries. And aside from when I'm doing something traditionally orchestral, which is really just using the orchestral sounds, a lot of times I'll layer in sounds from libraries that you might not expect. Like I might have a horror piece of music and I might use some percussion or, an ethnic flute or something from one of Eduardo's libraries. So I'm constantly bouncing back and forth and working with different things. I haven't worked with Dark Era in a while, but I remember I love it very much. It's very versatile, has a lot of great sounds in it, and I'm really looking forward to doing a little bit of a session today. It's been a while since I've done one of these, so I can't remember how I've done it normally, but I think what I'll do today is we'll start with percussion first. We'll just come up with some kind of rhythmic thing. And then that will be the bed. We'll work on a 1-minute piece. As always, this is something that I may go back and expand down the road. I haven't gone back and expanded any of the other ones because I've been so busy with the podcast. Like I said, I haven't been doing a lot of writing lately. So let's dig into this one and see what it has to offer. As usual, here is the engine template, and we're going to get into that. But as a reminder, or for those of you who this is the first time you're viewing one of my walkthroughs, when I do songwriting, I always keep a very detailed list of what sounds I'm using. That way, if there's ever like a file that goes rogue and I don't know what's on it, I can always pull up the list and see what I use for different things. Sometimes I'm in a rush and somebody's like, hey, I really like that sound you used. Can you do something with that? And I'll just go back to the list and see what it was. So having these detailed notes really helps. So this is my little spreadsheet. I've got the title. For now, it's just Dark Era Video because that's what the video is called for the moment. The date I use is the date I complete the song, not the date I'm working on it or the date I start it, but the date that I say, okay, this song is done. It is written. There's always the chance for modification down the line, but this is basically the day the package of the song was done. Copyright would be the date I copyright or complete the song. My name, because I'm the one that composed it. If I co-create something with somebody, then it would be Scott K. Haskin and or with, or depending on what they want. The tempo of the piece, I think we're going to try for 120 is where I have it set. So we'll start with that. We can always change it. Key, let's keep it simple. We'll do C major. Doesn't mean we'll only stick to that, but that's going to be the main key. A lot of times if I switch parts, like let's say I go to E flat, I'll put like C major, E flat major, something like that. So for now, we're just going to stick with C. As it's just a 1-minute piece, so we'll just see how it goes. Dedication is if this is to a project or a film or a video or commercial or something like that, whatever the project I'm writing it for. If it's for an album, I put my album title there. And the time will be the final length of the actual final file, like how long the file of the song is from beginning to end. Down here, we've got the channel. So this is going to be the MIDI channel. And then we have the source we're only working with Dark Era for the purposes of this video. So the template that I have set up is for 16 tracks. We can do more than that. We can always add more instances of engine. We can do 32, 64, like whatever the computer can handle. But for right now, again, minute-long piece, we're going to keep it fairly simple. The patch is going to be the flow, which I'll get into in a minute. The name is the name of the sound, and the part is what role it plays in the song. Sometimes if I'm going to, let's say I'll put a flange on percussion, so I would put percussion with flange. That way I can help identify later what it's going to be. I know it's going to be percussion because we're going to start with that. So we'll just start with that first. We can always modify that later. So since I'm using 2 monitors, I'm only capturing one. I'm just going to move this over. You guys get what I'm doing, so I don't need to show you that. And here is the engine template. The first 2 tracks I have here, mic 1, that's my microphone. Loopback is capturing the sounds from the computer, which is also capturing the mic, but I needed to have an input for the mic. So really we're getting everything through the loopback recording into Camtasia, which is how I'm capturing all of the audio and video. And then each of these tracks, starting with 1, this is my MIDI track. This will be bounce to audio, MIDI, bounce to audio, all the way down to the bottom until we get to the engine track, which is this interface right here. So we're going to start with track 1, and away we go. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go to the first channel. We're going to go ahead and pull the drop down out for new layer and go to Dark Era. Like I said, everything that we're going to do is going to be within Dark Era today. You can see all these other libraries. I've covered most of them. Still have 1 or 2 to cover yet, which I'll be getting to soon. But for now, we're doing Dark Instruments. So we have 3 folders. We have Instruments, Percussion, Strings, and Wind. We have Sound Design, Loops, Pads, and Soundscapes. And then we have Voices, a variety. Now these are subfolders because you can see we have the arrows here. Here we have Voices, these are the patch names. So we're going to pick a little bit from everything, and just to kind of see what's available and also just see what we can do with it. So we're going to start with Instruments, Percussion. And I remember I was playing with this a while ago. So this is the Timpanum Romano, and these are tuned percussion. So just to show you the first one, so we're going to go to, it is Instruments, Percussion, and then what was the patch name? How was it spelled? Because I'm not good at spelling, so I have to often look back and forth with these quite a bit. Timpano Romano tune. So, and again, just percussion. So with all spreadsheets, if the text goes into the next box, you just click the line, it extends it out so everything is nice and neat on your screen. Sorry, my voice is cracking a little bit today. I don't know why. I was talking earlier this morning. We'll just keep the coffee going and see if that helps. Nice hot coffee. Okay, so back there. Now we go back here. And we've got this now. As you guys have seen, I love the interface, by the way. This is very, there's runes and a really cool medieval like font. I love the darkness with the little splashes of green so that this middle piece shines through a little bit more. And always, Eduardo, for most of his patches for the the actual instruments. If it's like a soundscape or something he's created, I don't think he does these. We'll check later. But he always has this info box, and you can go and you can read a little bit about the actual instrument, which is really nice because I'm not versed in a lot of these. It's not my forte. I haven't studied it. I just go more by sound than anything else. But for you people who want to do like authentic stuff or want to know a little bit more about the instrument so that you can play it in different ways, this is a great way to learn about the instrument without having to Google it. Search through articles until you find something that displays what you're looking for. Eduardo gives you a great amount of information here for you to get started. So as we're looking at this, I can see this white section right here is where the sounds are going to be, and that is going to be in this range here. So everything in between there. So let's start at 120. We'll see if that works. We can always change it if not. Let's see here. Let's try a little bit of a rhythm bed here and see what happens. We'll see if we want to change it up, do something a little bit different later. So that will be track 1 for now, and then I am a habitual saver, so I will go ahead and save that. Now you can tell too on this, I don't know if I've mentioned this in the past, I probably have in different videos, but maybe this is the first one you're watching. You can tell which channels have a selected sound and which don't, because it will convert over to whatever the insignia is for that library. So if I were to pick something off of Nada, for example, we'll just pick something, really quick, just to show you the difference. It would change to the Nada logo. So I know I've got a patch from Dark Era here, DE. I know I've got a Nada patch because it has that insignia. And then if you want to clear out the patch, you just go pull up the patch names, just go up to clear. It asks you if you're sure, just to make sure you're not deleting anything you don't want to. And then it takes it right out and you go back into the menu again. Really nice and simple. I love it. I love how easy this stuff is to work with. So back to Dark Era. Let's pick another percussion. Seed Shaker's sickle. Let's see what a sickle sounds like. This could be cool. Now I don't... oh, the other thing is I need to put in... Okay, so a lot of times I don't put the patch name on the spreadsheet until I've tested it out and made sure it's what I want to use. Otherwise, I just spend a lot of time rewriting names, which is just really, really annoying and frustrating. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work for this particular piece, for what's shaping up in my head anyway. But I like the sound of that. That's really cool. Let's try a seed shaker and see what that does for us. Wow. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. These are interesting sounding seeds too. Let's see. Oops, right octave would help. Oh, that could work. Okay, so, and if you're not sure, you can look right here and see what the name of the patch is. You can also go here if you're not sure of what the path was to get there, because it'll be checked off. So it's Instruments, Percussion, Seed Shaker 1. So I'm just going to enter that here real quick. And of course, often save on the spreadsheet as well. Then we're going to go here. Okay, so back up here, we want to make sure that we arm the track, otherwise our performance isn't going to mean anything. That might be better. Let's see. We're not going to start it right away, so we can see where are we at. Let's go whole measure there. We can just start in a little bit. There's a good start. Let's see how that sounds. My playing's a little sloppy there today, isn't it? Let's try, and this should be 8th notes. No, that didn't work. Okay, so what I do a lot of times, and I didn't do it here, but if I think it's going to be 8ths, I'll go to 16ths, and then I will like narrow it down and then go to 8s. See, that worked better. Okay, I don't know. I'm not checking the whole performance right now because we're really worried about composing now. We can clean up performance later. Right now it's about laying down some sounds and seeing what we have to work with. So let's go back to Era here. There we go. And we'll now go to track number 3. Let's do one more percussion. Let's see what we've got. Don't want to do a bell. Let's see, how about, I don't know what this is. Oh, we'll find out. A chakara. Interesting. All right. Oh, that's cool. So again, enter that on my spreadsheet. And enter it here. You would think that this would kind of interrupt the composing process, and sometimes it does a little bit. I guess I've just gotten so used to it that it doesn't really affect me so much anymore. But definitely, this is something that I could see it being a little bit cumbersome and kind of taking you out of the zone a little bit. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just go and pick a bunch of sounds and kind of shaping a general idea in my head. And then once all the sounds are picked or the majority of the sounds are in, and they can change throughout the process if I decide something doesn't work. But then I've just got all the, I've got a good array of instruments in there, and then I can just compose without worrying about searching for sounds. But I find a lot of times, you'll pick one and it's like, oh, I thought this would work, but it doesn't really work with what I'm doing. So I have to change the sound. That certainly happens. And that's okay. So let's see here. No, I don't like that. I think I could do better. I'm not sure about that track, but it's a living, breathing thing, so we'll find out. So far, I think we've covered percussion really well for the moment. Let's dig into something else. So now we're going to go down to number 4, and we'll pick Dark Era, and we'll go to instruments and strings. So now we're going to have to kind of make some decisions. So let's start with plucked strings, and let's use a lute. And you can tell, of course, when it comes up or when it's loaded because you have this right here. So we have lots of options. I won't go on into all of those. You guys can do that on your own when you're playing with the instrument. That's one thing that's beautiful about Eduardo's libraries is that, like, I love Contact. I spend a lot of time working with Contact, but you have to go into like sub layers and stuff to get all this stuff, where this is just right here on the interface. Everything you can do right here on the interface, and I absolutely love that. There are some other things that you can get into if you really want to, but for general composing purposes, everything's right here. Like, this is the stuff that you're going to make go on the fly. So let's see what we have here. Oh, am I on the right? Yes. It's a beautiful sound, absolutely beautiful sound. So I don't remember what this one was called. So we will go instruments. And what was the path? Always helps to know what you're doing, doesn't it? So Dark Era, instruments. Oh, strings. Okay. Strings, pluck strings. Now on my sheet, I'll just put plugged. I don't think I need to put strings in there again. That's kind of redundant at that point. So on the sheet, I will always put the exact name of the patch though. And but here I don't need to know what kind of lute it is. I just need to remember that it's a lute on that track. So I'll just put lute. The reason I click back on the MIDI channel is because that's where I have to be for it to accept the data and play it off of that patch. So let's see what we have here. Probably want to keep it simple though. Let's see. Arm the track. Now, here's the thing. It's not always about doing some grandiose performance on every instrument. Some instruments are going to be layered. Some instruments, when it's all said and done, you're not going to hear as much as you feel. And sometimes you just need something that just kind of defines where the one is. Sometimes you just need a little bit of background, a little bit of melody, or a little bit of harmony to something. So when you're composing, it's not about getting the bang out of every single track, every single instrument, every single sound, because you're going to be doing a lot of layering. That's one thing, like, I think that's different about, say, like rock music, is that rock music in a lot of ways is not layered. It's like you have your guitar track, maybe there's a rhythm under the solo. Where you're going to get your layering is more in the keyboards. If you have an organist or a keyboard player, they might layer in some stuff. Guitar player might do a couple of layered tracks, but for the most part, it's more straightforward. Whereas, like with the way that I write, I tend to like to layer things and give a song real depth and a much bigger body of sound. Unless I'm writing rock music, which that's kind of the fun of rock music. Sometimes that beauty and the simplicity is a treat, you know, especially when you're getting used to writing for like a 70-piece orchestra or whatever, and you've got all these layers, all these different things going on, and it's controlled pandemonium. Sometimes it's nice to just kick back and have something, a lot more simple. So back to Dark Era here. Now we're going to go down to track number 5, and let's go back to instruments. Let's go to, see what's in winds here. Lots of flutes, overtones. Let's see what overtone is. This could be interesting. Okay, good range of notes here. And again, over in this section, we're going to have switch keys and different things like that, but we're not going to get into that in this video. I've done that in some of the other videos. Oh, maybe I didn't set this one up right. Let's see. Oh, that's why. Okay. Oh, I just didn't have it set up properly. Let that be a lesson to you. Always make sure your templates are set up properly. I just had to make this one before I started because for some reason I couldn't find my multi-track template. I only had the one for when I just do like the sound walkthroughs, and I didn't have the composing template, so I had to recreate one really quick. So I have to remember track 5 needs to be fixed on the master template. Let's see here. So lovely little flute here. Overtone. Now I'm actually going to put this on my sheet under what part this is as a flute. So this is going to be instruments, wind. Let's see, was there a... Yeah, that's right. It just went to wind. Okay. And here I'm going to put it as a flute because that's what I'm going to recognize it as. Back up here, arm our track. And maybe we'll get a little crazier with this one. Let's see. just do a 30-second piece today, since I'm kind of locked into this little section right here. So when you're thinking about playing an instrument, there's kind of a decision that you have to make in the beginning. Am I going to write this as if someone actually performed it or could perform it, because somebody may go and record this, like you may hire a live player. If that is the case, then when you're writing this, you have to keep in mind that people need to breathe. If you're writing a didgeridoo part, you don't have to keep that in mind because they use circular breathing, so you can play a 20-minute sustained note. I've never been able to master that with the didgeridoo that I used to have, which is why I ended up giving it away. But you have to think about that. So if I were to say I need to write this performance for a potential live performer, I would not have played it this way because I really didn't leave a lot of breathing room. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody couldn't do it if they were really good, but I probably would have played it differently. I would have left a little bit of space here and there for them to take a breath in. But I'm not expecting anybody's going to perform this, so I'm just going to go ahead and just play it as I feel it, as opposed to how I would write it for a performer. But that's definitely an important thing. Now, you can write something that can't be played and then the performer will have to interpret it. You could do that, or you could just make it easier for them and write something that's, humanly possible, or at least reasonably humanly possible. And they can alter it if they need to. You could always do the Philip Glass thing and just alternate 2 flutes as needed and let the players figure it out so that the song sounds the way that you intended it to sound. He's kind of notorious for that on a lot of his more complicated pieces. I have the sheet music for the song Flow, and that was the first thing I looked up when I got that book, because that was the first song that I heard of his, and I loved it. I heard a version by Keith Emerson, and it was for the film The Church. And it was just this amazing hard driving like crazy thing. It was a lot of programming. But when I looked at the sheet music and I looked at the flutes, it just said 2 flutes alternate as needed. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense if you're going to write that kind of music. That's just not easy to play. Although I have heard groups physically play it. It's really impressive stuff. Let's see, where are we? So let's go back to Dark Era. We'll go to instruments. Is there anything else we want here at the moment? No, I would say let's go to sound design. I don't do a lot of loops, but let's listen to a couple here. Our tempo's at 120, so we've got that. Let's check out Approaching Battle and see what that's all about, and if that might apply to what we're doing here. Wow, lots of colors here. Let's see where we're at. Did I not set this one up right either? Boy, I am getting old before your eyes. Nope, I didn't. Okay. All right, fix your template, Haskin. Ooh. You see, that's not what I think of when I think of loops. When I think of loops, I think of a repeating sequence. So let's hold the key down and see if that's what we get. Yeah, but I still don't think of that as a loop. When I think of a loop, I think of like a rhythm, like a full rhythm, or like a full melody, or something like that. This is really just repeating, so you don't have to hit the key, which just makes it easier to play. But I don't really think of that as a loop. Now, maybe using some of these switches over here would bring me into more what I think of as a traditional loop. But I like this, so I'm actually going to use it. Let's see, what was our path? Nope, not what I wanted. So Dark Era sound design epic loops. All right, and let's see if there's notes. Oh, there are notes. Oh, wow. Okay, so the notes give you more controls over here. Wow, that is a lot of options. But we're just going to stick with stock patches for today. Like I said, I've covered a lot of these, these kind of things elsewhere. So we can use those there, but I'm having a hard time reading that. So let's go back here. Epic loops, approaching battle, 120 BPM. So on my sheet, I'm going to put this as a synth because it sounds more like a synthesizer to me. And then over here, I'm just going to put battle. We'll arm our track. And and we'll record. Let's see. Well, that's kind of cool. I like that. You can do a lot with a sound like this. So for something like this, you're going to want to make sure that it's right on the beat, because this will throw everything off. So I'm just going to throw a quick quantize on there. I did everything in quarter notes. So there we are. Just move that into place. Changed the entire feel of the song, didn't it? I like that. I haven't been saving enough. So save. All right, let's pick another sound. There's so many good things in here to choose from. And that's what makes it hard sometimes, is when you have too many sounds to choose from, you can get so caught up just trying to pick perfect sounds, whereas you could pick good, really good sounds. And they're all great sounds in these libraries, but you could pick a great combination of sounds and write something with what you have. Or you could just spend hours digging through and just trying to make the perfect sound list. And you can get really crazy and lose the song in doing that. I tend to be one that just writes something, and if I need to change it, I'll change it, but that's just my style. Okay, so dark era, we're going to go back to sound design. This time we'll go with a rhythmic pad. Let's see here, the Hunt. That sounds interesting. Let's see what that has to offer. Oh, I think we can do something with that. Okay, so sound design, what was it? Rhythmic pads? I'm so glad you can just look at this really simply. Yeah, rhythmic pads, okay. Hunt 1. Just in case we end up using multiple, because there was more than one Hunt in there. So in case we end up using different ones, we want to make sure that we differentiate. So let's see what we have here. It goes down to here, all the way up. I really like this. This is so versatile too. There's so much you could do with something like this. Even just as an accent to like a kick drum. I mean, how cool is that? So for this, I'm not going to quantize it. I want that air to be really close, but not exactly on. I want it to have a little bit of a feeling of separation, which causes a little bit of disorientation in the listener. It feels awkward. It feels like there's something impending that's not quite right. So sometimes it's nice to not line up everything exactly. That's harder when it comes to a player to start like, a 30-second note into the measure instead of on the measure. But a sound like this probably wouldn't be played by a player anyway. This would be just recorded from the time code, and that's what you would have. So that adds just a nice little bit of thickness, I think, to what we've got there. I really like that. So let's go to our next sound, Dark Era. Was there another? Yeah, there was. Okay, soundscapes. Wow. So many names. And here's the hard part when it comes to anything ethereal or pads is, the names are important so that you recognize them, right? You'll get an association with them. But as far as picking a sound, I have no idea what any of these names correlate to, except I can say, Dread Forest is probably going to be a darker one, but Fate of the Gods, is that happy? Is that sad? I have no idea. But you know what? I'm going to find out. We'll pick that one, Fate of the Gods, and see what we've got here. And it's the full spectrum of the 88-note keyboard. So it's kind of dark. I like that. I'm going to use it. Fate of the Gods. And of course, I'll put soundscape as the type. If I could type, that would help. And then we're under sound design, soundscape. For our path. All right, let's see what we got here. Well, it would help if I was recording on the right track. That's the audio track. I need the MIDI track. Come on, Askin. So again, just some gentle layering. You notice it more in this section here. It works really just more to thicken up what's going on in the song. So yeah, very nice. I like that one. Let's move on. Let's do a couple more sounds because we've got a couple areas we haven't explored. I want to pick at least something from everything so we can get an idea of what we've got here. So here, all these we've used already. Now we're down here to track number 9, and we will go to... That was all the sound design ones. Yeah. Okay. So now we'll go to voices. Okay. So we've got all kinds of cool stuff. And I've heard these patches before. They are, as with everything I've heard from Eduardo, there isn't a single patch I haven't thought wasn't an incredibly solid quality recording. So we've got vocal rhythms. We'll try that. That might be some chanting or something like that. So let's see what we've got here. Those might work really well with some battle sounds, but I don't think that's going to work with this piece. So let's see what else we've got here.
Untruth hum. Untruth hum. Al. Sol. Gray. Untruth mod a. Onint any on. On it.
Okay, this is interesting. So let's try these. Let's see, what was our path here? Voices. And this is really going to be more like a chant almost. If what I have in mind works. And, sometimes I get lucky and it does. Other times they, don't. Shemic invocations. So that's what the patch is called. So I've got that on my spreadsheet, but here I'm just going to put chant because that's what I'm going to remember it as. So back onto the MIDI track. And let's start, let's see. Here's where the percussion changes a little bit. So we'll go back here. What am I patching? Okay. Well, that didn't really work out the way I'd hoped. Let's try that again. These I definitely want to quantize because I want them right on that beat. So you can see it shifted a little. One thing I wanted to show you guys too, I don't know how it works in other DAWs, but when you quantize it, it'll put the note at the start of the beat where it should be, but it'll leave this tail because this is where the note shifted from. So if you were, this wouldn't matter unless you're going to copy this onto another part of the song. I don't usually do that, but every once in a while, if I'm under a time crunch and there's no need to re-record the part, I'll do it. Just slide this over so that when you copy and paste it, it pastes where it's supposed to paste. Otherwise, it'll start that space right at the beginning of the measure and your note will be shifted off. So there's a little Haskin handy tidbit there. So what do we have here? Is a little bit slow, and sometimes they are, especially with voices. They might not start right at the time that you strike the key or right on the beat when you quantize them. So you can manually move those later on if you want. You can do it in MIDI, you can do it in audio, either way, or you can just leave them as they are. The thing that I don't like is it's just a little too quiet for me in the mix, so I just want to go up to the volume and turn that up. There we go. Let's see if that's any better. Okay, so I would probably, see, I said I wanted these on the beat and they're not. Let's see how close they are. It's really just that third one that's off. So what you could do is you could select that note and you could move it over. Wow, I got it right on the first shot. So the second one's a little off too. You could move that one. If you wanted to, you could do it that way and then just copy and paste these three if you're just repeating the pattern, or you could just do that one note, delete that, copy that over, however you wanted to do it. But I like it just for the first one to be right and for the second two to be off, so I'm going to leave it as it is right there. I think that's kind of nice. I'm going to save. It's as long as the sound itself gives you the room to do it, then you can do pretty much anything. Let's see if there's another voice in there that we can do something with. I like where this is going. I definitely like where this is going. Now, another thing you can do, depending on what you like and don't like, is I tend to, especially if I'm using a lot of sounds, I tend to color coordinate my stuff so that I can identify sections very quickly. So let's say we're going to do percussion in this bluish purple. So we'll do all the percussion tracks in that. And let's see. Chakras are there. Yeah, we had 3 percussion tracks. And you can do these as well. So actually, when you go to bounce each one down to audio, if you work that way, they'll show up in blue on your mixer. And then for the lute, let's see, for the melodic instruments, let's do green. And then for the synthesizers, let's do orange. And I'll put the hunt in that category too. Then for, let's see, that was also a kind of a synth. Then for voices, let's do yellow, so that stands out. And here's what that'll look like on your mixer. So I'm gonna just shrink that for a minute. So now everything's, you know, nice on the mixer. These are just the audio tracks. I've hidden the MIDI tracks. We'll just move the buses over here. And if you want to thin out the strips, you can do that. Narrow all strips. There you go. If you have some that you want, you can always extend like just one. You can uncheck the narrow and it'll widen that one. However you want to do it, but this will give you audio and MIDI. I have, let's see, I have MIDI currently hidden. So if I wanted to add those in, it would give you both the MIDI and the audio track. Normally I don't really need MIDI channels on my mixer, so I just tend to shrink those. So that's the mixer view. We'll go ahead and close that for now. Do a quick save with all of our colors. And let's see if we can add one more voice to this before we wrap up this session, just to give it a little more flavor. New layer, dark era, voices. Ooh, how about shouts? No. Whispered shouts. Oh, this should be fun. I know I'm going to do something with this one, so I'm just going to leave this. Whispered shouts. And which one is this? This is 10 already. I don't know what that was. There we go. Okay, so since this will be voices, we'll go ahead and mark this one in yellow also. There we go. Let's see what we got.
Be, fe, re, mo, do, gro, ho.
Okay, so I know the volume is going to be too low for this, so we'll bring that up a little bit.
Mo, do, re, mo, sha.
Do something with that, yeah. They're not quite as whispery as you might have expected. Stop where the other voices kick in, just overlap a little bit. So just kind of layer it a little bit, but not much, you know. So I'm not sure any of this really works as a piece of music. I think I would probably, let's see. For me, so I'm going to take this track out. Let's go back to that and see if we can do something a little bit better. Let's save it because I don't want that back. Let's see. Oh, that might work. Oh, you know what? No. Okay, turn MIDI back on, so I'm starting right at the measure. So here we definitely want to quantize these. We'll go 16ths and 8ths. And that looks pretty good. Yeah, I might go back to and add a little more to this chant section too, because it does now seem a little bit thin as we're building, and now that we've added this other section in preceding it. But yeah, it's a good start. I think it gives me something to work with, and I like that. So I'll save the file. I'll also save it as a MIDI file just in case the main file gets lost. I don't want to lose the music that I've written, and that's again why I keep that patch list, so that I have the list of sounds. If this main template file goes corrupt, I've got the MIDI file I can use to recreate it very easy. So that and the patch list allow me to do that. So that's it for today, guys. Just a quick little, well, quick, it's been like 52 minutes. But yeah, just a little romp through Dark Era. Beautiful library. You guys can just get a little taste there of the dynamics. But you can tell from the quality of the sounds and the fact that, there's a lot we didn't even explore. But even just from these few that we've listened to, you can hear the quality of them. They're absolutely fantastic. All of Eduardo's libraries. The quality that he puts something out with is just absolutely unquestionable as far as I'm concerned. I've listened to hundreds, if not thousands, of his patches, and not had one single one that I was like, you know what, that one kind of sucks, or the quality's not that good on that one. 100% awesome. So feel free to watch this again. Go to the best service sites. I'll have those links in the notes. Check them out. There's some great stuff to offer. There's sales now and then, and just look up Eduardo Tarilonte, or I think you can even just look up Eduardo and his stuff comes up, or look up Era. Since almost all of his are Era, he has a great Forest Kingdom, couple of those. So there's a lot of stuff on the Best Service website. But I think once you find him, if you click his name, then you get all the. So if like you type in Era and you see one come up, and then you click Eduardo's name, then it brings up all his libraries. So real simple either way, whether you're on the US or the German site. I don't know if there's any other language sites. I want to say there was a third one, but I can't think of what it is if there is. So I might be making that up. But at least I admit it. So thanks, guys, for joining me for a video. I'll be back before too much longer to do one more of his. I think there's only one more I haven't done. So we'll get into that at some point. But in the meantime, enjoy this. Go check out the libraries, Eduardo Tarilonte at bestservice.com. Cheers.